thank you for this opportunity, Abraham. I want to thank you for coming forth into this realm, and Jerry and Esther for their bringing this work forward to so many people. Have two.
You all have summoned us to a new level today. In other words, the credit and appreciation goes to you, truly.
Thank you. I have two questions. The first one, I wondered if you might be able to enlighten me as to an experience I had almost exactly a year ago on February 14th. I was in a little bit of a stressful situation with some real estate I own over in Scottsdale. And I woke up early in the morning and couldn't get back to sleep and decided to meditate. And remembering the books I read where Jerry and Esther first started getting into this in the meditation, the process of focusing on your breathing, I did that. And I had an experience that I don't think was a dream, but I'm not sure exactly what it was. Basically, I went to a city full of people. There were no police. It was like a utopia, total happiness, but it seemed very much like the world we live in today as far as buildings and people and shopping and all. And talking with the people there, I was conscious. It didn't feel like a dream because it wasn't observing. It wasn't reacting. I was actually asking questions, I felt consciously, of these people. And one of the things they told me is, here you can be anything, do anything, have anything you want. And it was instant manifestation. If I wanted something, it was just there instantly. And they told me, you can have this on Earth. Where you are, you don't have to be here to have this. You have that ability. So
what that was, and we love the vivid depiction of it. So you were struggling with some things that were going on in business, in finances, in real estate, and the details of that struggle caused you to take a bounce so that there was a poignant, specific other side of that wave activated. And then you did something really, really wonderful. You sat to meditate, meaning you quieted your mind by focusing on your breathing, and you stopped with that still active, with that keenly, that question, that desire, more active than it had been in a long time, or maybe ever. You, in that moment, meditated and stopped resistance and moved right into the vortex, where you then were able to see with your eyes and hear with your ears, all of your physical senses. In other words, that's what the vortex is like when you are inside of it, in the midst of a fully activated desire. You went into the vortex.
Wow.
Now, you could go in the vortex anytime you meditate and just feel good. But the combination of things that happened for you there was the discord, or the knowing what you don't want, that contrast of your life had caused you. This is what we've been saying over and over and over again until people are tired of hearing it, that when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. And so there was a clearly activated desire that most people don't allow themselves to receive the benefit of the poignancy of, because too much time goes by from the time that they launch it and the time that they actually get in there to reap the benefit of it. This is deliberate creating at its best, where you did step 1, you did step 2, and you did step 3. Brilliant.
And I've been, from earlier when you were talking about, somebody brought up trying to get into, I've been trying to get into that again. And I think that's the problem. I've been trying too hard.
Well, but in trying to get in, so let's talk about how it happened.
Okay.
When you want something that you don't believe, then there's no alignment. When you want something you do believe, It happens. And that's why inside the vortex, those who were talking to you were saying to you, you can be or do or have anything that you want, because inside the vortex, it's all queued up. And the other words, the words that you spoke to us just now were the perfect translation of what someone inside the vortex would be telling you, that the manifestation can happen on earth just like it's happening here in this vortex. This was a perfect translation. Some would call it an out-of-body experience.
Right.
It was not a dream. It was an interpretation of a vibration that was so vivid that it was reality. And this story that you have just conveyed so perfectly has done the best job that we have ever experienced in helping us to explain to all of you the reality of this vibrational reality. In other words, you got in there and you felt it and you saw it. Now, the next part, we know you're all excited about, because you want what they told you when you were in the vortex. You want it to manifest in real life experience. What we want for you, we want it to not matter whether it manifests in real life experience, because when you were in the vortex, it was manifested as a real life experience. When you stop needing it to manifest so that others can see it, and it's enough for you to just get in there and feel it and see it yourself, now you've got it. Now you've got it. And now the manifestations will just begin flowing rampantly into your experience. Well, and that's what you meant when you said, I'm trying to do it again, I'm trying to do it again. And we say, just relax, just meditate, just ABC your way into the vortex. And you may not ever have that vivid of an experience again. But that's not what you're shooting for. You're not trying to get into the vortex and live a world in there. You want to get into the vortex to feel your alignment so that world can manifest out here.
Right. And I felt so incredibly light and positive. I mean, you just...
So again, what were the components? What were the components? Active desire in the moment. Active desire and active resistance. Would you agree that's where you started? Active resistance, which caused active desire, and both were present. Then what happened with meditation? Deactivation of resistance, but still active desire. See how it works? And then the deactivation of resistance, but the poignantly active desire, in you go. And you had a real life experience that, had you been able to maintain it, would have had to have manifested nearly instantly. And that's what you were translating in there. Instant manifestation. When you want it and you're offering no resistance about it, it has to happen, and it has to happen now. So the timing of things is just about how long it takes you to release the resistance.
I see.
Here's something that will help you. You know how good it felt in there?
Yes.
Couldn't have felt that good if you hadn't spent some time out of there.
True.
So if you'll say, I love going into the vortex, it takes the sting out of not being in the vortex, because if you're not ever out, you can't have the fun of going in. Just a little thing that can help you. I so love going into the vortex that I don't mind being out occasionally. I so love going into the vortex that I don't mind being out occasionally. I so love going into the vortex that I don't mind being out occasionally. In other words, just soften those out of the vortex moments and accept how well you are doing.
Very good advice.
Also, if you weren't on the brink of some really good manifestations, you couldn't have an experience like that in the vortex.
Well,
in other words, that you may have heard us say that what you're thinking and what you're feeling, therefore your point of attraction, and what's manifesting always match. And what manifests in your dreams is also a manifestation. When you start manifesting like that in out-of-body experiences, you're right on the cusp of reality manifesting.
And that's kind of what I needed to hear, because it has been, as for many people, a very challenging year this past year. I had
stop it.
Well,
that's an anti-vortex conversation. And we get why it's compelling. In other words, it seems like I should explain why I want that. Gotcha. I really would like that because I really don't like this. But don't shore that up. Don't keep that alive in your vibration. Stop it. Meditate it away. Bask it away. Don't keep it active.
I'm seeing, and I've been working on this path and going down this path. Probably started it a few years after Jerry and Esther.
We know.
Yeah,
you're good at it.
You know those.
You're good at it. But the reason that we are hopping right on top of you in the middle of that is because that is the silly thing that you keep doing that keeps it from manifesting. Just that. It's not bigger than that. It is not bigger than facing reality and commenting on it. It's not bigger than that. So if you at least stop commenting on it, and then eventually stop facing it and spend more time talking about what you saw there. That's the story that if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would tell nonstop. We'd tell it to ourselves and tell it to ourselves, and we'd put ourselves to sleep at night thinking about it, and we would relive the conversations that we had with that non-physical energy that was giving that information to you that you so perfectly translated. We'd just tell that story and tell that story and tell that story and reactivate that feeling of invincibility that you had and reactivate that feeling of excitement and enthusiasm and enlightenment that you had. We'd just keep that alive and 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 keep that alive, and we would choke on the other story.
Point taken. Number 2. No, I don't mean this as a negative. I lost my job this year.
Well, we're going to find out how well that point was taken.
Well, this is... I worked for General Motors Corporation.
We don't care.
And got some great experiences from it. And that's
blah,
the
blah,
positive.
blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah.
Could you... This is obviously going down or in the career transition point, and it's very exciting. Could you give me some, maybe some ideas of how I might get into furthering this type of work and working in this area?
Well, let's go back to the point that was taken. And that is, we're really not mocking you or making fun of you. We're just pointing out how easy it is to tell things like they are. And you just have to decide that you can't face reality and face your vibrational reality at the same time.
Right.
And you are one of the rare humans on the planet who has a vivid memory of what it feels like to face your vibrational reality. In other words, you just explained something that happened to you that was so big and so vivid and so real and so much a bridge to what we're teaching here, that we just want you to really bring that home and remember that when you tell out of the vortex stories, that you practice the vibration of it. In other words, a lot of people say, well, what does it hurt to just explain it? And we say it doesn't hurt anything. It just prolongs the success that you're reaching for. It just slows down the whole process, and it is so unnecessary. Compelling, we know, because the world who surrounds you really doesn't want to hear your fictitious in the vortex story. They'll think you're a lunatic. They don't want to hear it. They'd rather hear you talk about how you...
Gotcha.
But if we were standing in your physical shoes, as far as any of that, we wouldn't make it audible. We wouldn't put it into any concrete words that anyone could take anything away from. They'll say, "How you doing?" "Really good." Yep. "What happened with your job?" "What? I can't hear you." It's not very satisfying to talk about that with people when, in other words, if you're not giving them meaningful feedback that they can hook into, they'll say, "What's the matter with you? It's like your jaw is frozen. It's like you can't even talk about that." "Yeah, that's pretty much what's happened to me. That's pretty much what's happened to me. Every time I talk about that, I get angry, I get depressed, I get defeated. I feel like it sets me back. And so I've decided to not talk about that anymore, except to appreciate what it gave me and what it has made me want. Now, I'll talk to you all day long about where I'm going, but don't ask me for the details about any of that, because that's all irrelevant. It's water under the bridge. That phase of my life served me incredibly well, and now I'm ready to pluck the fruit from the trees that all provided for me. Get some terminology together. Get yourself ready for that, you see.